war. The second thing being the El Mencho assassination that was taken out by Mexican military, and the third story talking about Howard Lutnick and all of the things that are coming out about him. So what do you guys think about those things? Leave a comment in the chat and tell us your thoughts. Will anybody be held accountable? Do you think Trump will go to war with Iran? And do you think we will actually be able to get ourselves out of all of these wars? Or is this going to be essentially another 20-year war with Iran where we are fighting on Israel's behalf? What do you think? Again, so I wanted to bring up some stories, and then we'll go through the X algorithm. We'll look through what's trending right now in the algorithms, and then we'll go back and we'll be sure to address any questions that you might have. So without further ado, let's hop right into our stories and our featured story, which is Iran. Do you think we are going to be at war with Iran? I certainly think the chances are likely. So let's get into this. So before we get into Iran, let's talk about El Mencho. So El Mencho was assassinated essentially in an operation by the Mexican military, and then the cartel retaliated just yesterday. So all of this happened yesterday over the weekend, and I find the timing extremely interesting, right? I mean, what do you think about this timing? And so now, essentially, America has more control over that area, Puerto Vallarta. Okay, so this is where it happened, and so let's read the story and we'll look more into it. This article was from Reuters by Elizabeth Diaz and Laura Gaddesdiner. Okay, so let's look at the coverage here and let's see this video.
Cars and buildings were torched in Mexico's Jalisco province following the killing of drug lord Nemesio Oseguera, commonly known as El Mencho, in a military operation. That's according to government sources familiar with the operation who spoke to Reuters on Sunday. Mexico's defense ministry said a shootout left Oseguera seriously injured and he died during an air transfer to Mexico City. Oseguera, an ex-police officer, was the leader of the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The Mexican government has been cracking down on local drug cartels after a pressure campaign from the Trump administration, including threats to intervene directly. The Mexican embassy in Washington said on Sunday that the U.S. provided information.
What do you guys think about this? Honestly, leave a comment below. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to be involved in this war, or do you think we're going to actually be able to get out of this war? Leave a comment.
Did aerial surveillance on Sunday after the operation set off a wave of violence. Videos and pictures on social media showed vehicles ablaze, sending dark smoke into the sky. Mexican media outlets reported torched cars and gunmen blocking highways in more than half a dozen states across the country. Air Canada said it was temporarily suspending operations in Mexico's Puerto Vallarta. United Airlines and American Airlines said they were also canceling flights in the region.
Yeah, so, and by the way, they're kidnapping people right now. So if you're in Puerto Vallarta right now, you need to get out of there. We're hearing multiple reports of people being kidnapped and essentially, people being held hostage as well now. So
Mexican officials urged people to stay home until the situation was brought under control.
So this is the story that's been trending on X. This was everywhere yesterday. This was the big story over the weekend. Again, Mexico City, February 22nd, from Reuters. February 2nd story has been corrected to change Oseguera's age to 59, not 60, and removes reference to Talpapa. President Claudia Sheinbaum has been under mounting pressure from Washington to intensify her offensive against drug cartels, blamed for producing and smuggling drugs, particularly the synthetic opioid fentanyl, across the border to the U.S. Yes, which I thought was crazy. She was like, oh, yeah, don't send the troops into Mexico to deal with the cartel. We like the cartel. The cartel works for us. It's like, okay, cartel doesn't work for you. The cartel must own you. So anyways, going on. Oseguera, 59, the mastermind of the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel, the CJNG, died in custody after being injured in a military operation by Mexican special forces in the town of Talpapa in Mexico's Jalisco state, according to Mexico's defense ministry. His corpse arrived in Mexico City on Sunday afternoon in a heavily guarded convoy of National Guard troops. Reuters had reported on Sunday that a new U.S. military-led task force played a role in the raid led and carried out by Mexican forces. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt later posted on social media that the United States provided intelligence support. Leavitt added that the Trump administration commends and thanks the Mexican military for the cooperation and successful execution of this operation. Trump also did make statements, by the way, that he would be honored to go in and take out the cartel and to deal with that in a more swift manner. So what do you guys think is going to happen with that? After reports of El Mencho's death, cartel henchmen blockaded highways with burning cars and torched businesses in more than a dozen states, paralyzing parts of the country. No civilian deaths have been reported. In Jalisco's popular beach resort of Puerto Vallarta, frightened tourists on social media described a war zone as plumes of dark smoke rose into the sky around the bay. Air Canada, United Airlines, Aeromexico, and American Airlines suspended flights in the area. Former cops said to the cartel kingpin, Osuguera, a former police officer, founded and oversaw the rapid rise of the CJNG, named for the western state of Jalisco, that is home to one of Mexico's biggest cities, Guadalajara. In recent years, CJNG has expanded into one of Mexico's most powerful cartels, known for violent tactics including forced labor and forced recruitment. Under El Mencho's leadership, CJNG also became a highly diversified criminal enterprise, expanding from drug trafficking to fuel theft, extortion, human smuggling, and complex financial frauds. The cartel pioneered use of drones in attacks against civilians in remote regions of western Mexico as part of its rapid territorial expansion. Sunday's raid was one of Mexico's highest profile blows against the drug gangs responsible for smuggling billions of dollars and drugs, including fentanyls, into the U.S. In recent years, the leaders of the rivals Sinaloa Cartel, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, and Ishmael El Mayo Zambada were captured alive, both now in U.S. prisons. President Trump's administration landed El Mencho's killing, but domestic violence triggered highlighted the political balancing act and must strike as her government escalates its cartel offensive. On Sunday, Sheinbaum stressed that activities in most areas of the country were produced as usual. Schools in various states across Mexico's protectively canceled classes for Monday, according to announcements by state-level education departments. Security experts were watching whether the raid and death of the cartel boss will fracture CJNJ leadership and trigger bloody infighting. There will definitely be skirmishes between the various factions, and these spasms of violence could last for years, says Carlos Oliva, a former U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, that's DEA, assistant special agent in charge of and expert in the CJNG. Killing Winds U.S. praise. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau, previously ambassador to Mexico, said Osuguera's killing was a great development for the U.S. and Mexico as well as the rest of Latin America. In January, after the U.S. capture of the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro, Trump said the cartels were running Mexico and warned, "We are going to start now hitting land and with regard to the cartels." Sheinbaum said she would strengthen efforts to cooperate with the U.S. to fight cartels, but vowed to uphold Mexico's sovereignty and warned against the unilateral military action by the U.S. and Mexico. Sheinbaum, in a social media post on Sunday, said security officials would provide information to the operation. So what do you guys think about that story? Do you guys think that this is all planned? What do you think about the timing of this particular story? Again, I find it to be strange. I find it to be definitely worth investigating more into. So ultimately, now I wanted to get into the featured story, which was Trump considering to target Iran. Trump considering to target the Iran and essentially on behalf of Israel. We all know that. Followed by the larger attack. This is by the New York Times. This article was from the New York Times talking about the top negotiators plan to meet in Geneva on Thursday for last-ditch talks, debating a new proposal that could create an off-ramp as two carrier groups massed within striking distance of Iran. Again, President Trump's threat is the latest example of how he is trying to force Iranian leaders to see that they have no choice but to give up every aspect of their nuclear program. President Trump told advisors that if diplomacy or any initial targeted U.S. attack does not lead Iran to give in to his demands that it give up its nuclear program, he will consider a much bigger attack in coming months intended to drive that country's leaders from power. People briefed on international administration deliberations said. Negotiators from the United States and Iran are scheduled to meet in Geneva on Thursday for what appears to be last-ditch negotiations to avoid a military conflict. But Mr. Trump has been weighing options for U.S. action if the negotiations fail. Though no final decisions have been made, advisors said, Mr. Trump has been leaning towards conducting an initial strike in coming days intended to demonstrate to Iran's leaders that they must be willing to agree to give up the ability to make a nuclear weapon. Targets under consideration range from the headquarters of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to the country's nuclear sites to the ballistic missile program. Again, this is from the New York Times, an article that was just released yesterday. It goes on. Should those steps fail to convince Tehran to meet his demands, Mr. Trump told advisors he would leave open the possibility of any military assault later this year intended to help topple the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader. There are doubts even inside the administration about whether that goal can be accomplished with airstrikes alone, and behind the scenes, a new proposal is being considered by both sides that could create an off-ramp to military conflict, a very limited nuclear enrichment program that Iran could carry out solely for purposes of medical research and treatments. It is unclear whether either side would agree, but the last-minute proposal comes as two aircraft carrier groups and dozens of fighter jets, bombers, and refueling aircraft are now massing within striking distance of Iran. This is all happening as we speak. Mr. Trump discussed plans for strikes on Iran in the White House Situation Room on Wednesday. The meeting included Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Dan Kane, and Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, the CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and Susie Wiles, the White House Chief of Staff. The article is based on conversations with multiple American officials with knowledge of the meeting, including officials with different views of the best course of action. None of them would allow their names to be used, citing the sensitivity of the discussions involving military operations and intelligence assessments. Okay, so then we have this article from the Al Jazeera, and I thought this was quite interesting because this kind of has a different angle on it. So again, is Trump still planning to negotiate with Iran? I hope he is. It would be the smarter decision. I mean, even if you are Israel, it's not really in your best interest to fight Iran right now. It would be in your best interest to fight them later, if anything, because, listen, they have unlimited missiles. And, you know, the whole point of these denuclearization talks right now is basically that Trump wants to completely disarm Iran. Once Iran denuclearizes themselves, they will have completely no means to defend themselves. And so with that being said, it basically gives Israel all the power. Israel is basically winning this war right now because we are going to be fighting for them. Okay, so this is an article from Al Jazeera, and it says, Iran says it's ready for talks but will defend itself against U.S. aggression. These are remarks from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which come after Trump said he is considering an attack if a nuclear deal is not reached. Excuse me. As a new round of talks between the United States and Iran is scheduled to take place in Geneva, Tehran has reiterated that it wants to find a diplomatic solution with the U.S. on its nuclear program, but will defend itself if Washington resorts to military action. Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Ismail Baghi said on Monday that any U.S. attack, including limited strikes, would be considered an act of aggression that would precipitate a reason after U.S. President Trump said he was considering a limited strike on Iran. So again, this is all happening as we speak, as aircraft carriers are currently sitting in the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Oman. An act of aggression would be regarded as an act of aggression, period. And any state would react to an act of aggression as part of its inherent right to self-defense ferociously. So that's what we would do, Bongay said during a media briefing. Trump said on Friday that he was considering a limited strike if Tehran did not reach a deal with the U.S. I guess I can say I am considering that, Trump said in reply to the question from a reporter. On Sunday, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said nuclear talks with the U.S. have produced encouraging signals, but warned that Tehran is prepared for any scenario in advance of another round of negotiations set for Thursday. Iran is committed to peace and stability in the region, Pezeshkian wrote on X. The two countries concluded a second round of indirect talks in Switzerland on Tuesday under Omani mediation against the backdrop of the largest U.S. military buildup in the region since 2003 Iraq War. They resumed talks in Oman this month. A third round of indirect talks is scheduled for Thursday in Geneva, but the U.S. has yet to confirm. Oman said on Sunday that the talks are set with a positive push to go the extra mile towards finishing the deal. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has been leading the negotiations for Iran, while the U.S. has represented by envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Iranians have never capitulated. We do not conform to any of the speculation. The details of any negotiation process are discussed in the negotiation room. The speculation raised about an interim agreement has no basis. Al Jazeera's Tawhid Asadi, reporting from Tehran, said that was a mixture of optimism and pessimism in Iran's capital. Let's call it a pragmatically calibrated cautiousness that we see when it comes to Iran's statements over the past few weeks, specifically following the major military buildup by the Iranians in the region, he said. He said Iran is considering both scenarios on the basis of readiness for diplomatic engagement on one hand and regional confrontation on the other. The Trump administration said it has been intensifying the buildup of any array of military assets in the Middle East during the talks with Iran. In an interview with Fox News TV on Sunday, Witkoff said Trump was wondering why Iran had not capitulated in the face of the military deployment. Bongay on Monday stressed that Iranians had never capitulated at any point in history. This is not the first time we have encountered contradictory claims, the foreign ministry spokesman said. We leave the judgment of the discerning people of Iran and the country's political elites to decide about Iran's negotiations and in turn in negotiating an approach for the United States, he said. No negotiation that begins with an imposed burden and prejudgment will naturally reach a result, the official said. He also stressed that Iran's position on its nuclear program and sanctions relief are a clear cut. Any negotiation process requires joint action, and there is a hope for results if there is goodwill and seriousness on both sides, Bongay said. So there's the articles on the Iran situation right now and what's happening with that. So ultimately, I really believe that we will end up going to war with Iran. I mean, these things are going to happen. Okay, so I also wanted to get into Howard Lutnick. And again, if you guys are tuning into this, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Be sure to, hey, if you enjoy the show, that's great. Support it. Share the information. That's important. I also wanted to get into Howard Lutnick here. Howard Lutnick's been on the grid for all of his dealings, essentially, and it's been pretty sketchy. Okay, so we know that he's getting the money back, essentially, of what's owed from the tariffs. And so now it's all going to him. So that's really weird, right? That's really weird. And he also has benefited from 9/11, and he missed work one day. And he worked on the third highest floor of the World Trade Center, allegedly. Okay, and Trump had said this in a recent statement. So let's listen to this video. And again, I wanted to really look at this. And again, it's just, you just can't get around it. Okay, so
happens that the
what do you
address
guys
for
think about
same
this?
conversion and for Jeffrey Epstein's trial. This is Howard Lutnick. He is our current U.S. Secretary of Commerce for Donald Trump. He's also the CEO of financial services juggernaut Cantor Fitzgerald, which is currently being run by his two sons. Howard Lutnick is an interesting fellow. He was recently on a podcast discussing his relationship, or lack thereof, with Jeffrey Epstein.
We are in number 11, and he lives in number 9.
And it was riddled with lies. The first lie is his connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
So for starters, they were in business together. They were invested into the
Yeah, they were in business together, and that's something people need to realize.
same company. We can see that the signature of
This is crazy. Wait till you guys see this.
Jeffrey Epstein's right here, as well as the signature of Howard Lutnick. We even have an FBI intake form from a whistleblower from his company that states not only was he connected with Epstein, but there was fraudulent activity going on in his charity that has to do with 9/11. Now, how does this guy have to do with 9/11? His company, Cantor Fitzgerald, suffered 658 deaths that day, almost 1/4 of the total people killed on 9/11. Now, Howard would narrowly...
Wow, that's insane. That's insane. Look at all those people who died, and he just so happened to not go to work that one day. Larry Silverstein, same story, and they made billions of dollars from it. That's very lucky. Isn't that the luckiest men in the world, right?
escaped the 9/11 attacks, blaming his wife for pressuring him to bring his son to their first day of kindergarten, which is interesting because we have multiple sources that say this from the nyc.gov website. The 2001-2000 school year opened citywide for high school students on Wednesday, September 5th, an elementary school the following day. He also does a lot of business.
The guy was in on it. And I think we can all agree on that. I mean, it's just so obvious. Howard Lutnick, and will he be held accountable? Probably not.
With Larry Silverstein, famously the gentleman who put on a 99-year lease agreement on the Twin Towers about 2 months before the attack. Larry also built and owned World Trade 7 that he bought in 1987. Multiple executives also state that from the $135 million payout that was given by American Airlines, that Mr. Lutnick pocketed anywhere between 15 to 25 million of those dollars for himself. But we're not even close to done on this guy, because his sons that are currently running Cantor Fitzgerald are the ones who actually bet against the very tariffs that Mr. Lutnick is involved with Donald Trump.
That's crazy.
Fitzgerald and Co. say that they have the capacity to buy the rights to hundreds of millions of dollars in potential refunds from companies who have paid Trump's tariffs. And since the Supreme Court recently ruled against these specific types of tariffs, Cantor is set to profit about 3 to 5x, around $10 million on this investment. And he and his sons have remained completely silent on it. Now, in the same interview where he's
like, this is just so corrupt. I mean, this is exactly why nobody trusts the American economy. This is why nobody's paying their taxes. I mean, this is crazy. We're supposed to pay our taxes while these people are doing this and getting away with all of this. And not to mention, this man was on the Epstein files, friends with Epstein, and they get to just keep on doing what they're doing.
says, I'm never going to do business with this man. He's gross.
It's gross. The guy's gross.
Gross.
Right with my wife. And like, he's gross. The guy's gross.
He also mentions that he bought a property in 1998 that happened to be next door to Jeffrey Epstein, officially moving in 2005.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005.
But this is yet another lie simply by omission, because he knows exactly who he bought that property from, and the fact that he didn't truly buy it because he didn't buy it at market value. In 1988, Sam Conversion Corp., formed by Les Wexner, buys 11 East 71st Street. Here's the deed between Sam Conversion Corp., written out for
That's
1988.
insane.
In 1992, the home was transferred to a trust named 11 East 71st Street, the property address, and that trust was run by
The truth about business.
1992, Jeffrey Epstein, trustee of the 11 East 71st Street Trust, being transferred in consideration for $10, and here's the address of the property. And it just so happens that the address for Sam Conversion and for Jeffrey Epstein's trust of 11 East 71st Street is the same exact address listed on the Limited Incorporated, which is the corporation that owns Victoria's Secret, run by Les Wexner. Then 1996, the Comet Trust buys the property. The Comet Trust, which the main trustee for that was a man by the name of Guido Goldman. Guido Goldman's father was the co-founder of the World Jewish Congress and president of the World Zionist Organization. But from the Comet Trust, it would then be transferred to Howard Lutnick for $10. Here's the address.
What? That's just nuts. Like, how is this even legal?
Here's the...
It's not legal. It's not legal, but nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows how to handle it. Nobody knows exactly what was wrong.
$10. And here we can see Guido Goldman of the Comet Trust going to Howard Lutnick, the home right next
Boom.
to Jeffrey Epstein.
Got him.
He also claimed in this podcast that he only met him that one time at his property for a home tour.
Your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. And he opens the doors, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room. And then he gets weirdly close to me. And he says, and the right kind of massage.
But that story doesn't match up with the files, because in 2009, he wanted to speak with Jeffrey Epstein. In 2011, here's an email saying he needs to return your call. In 2011, also, they scheduled some drinks, and here's the
Caught
confirmation.
red-handed. Look at that. Look at that. May 1st, 2011. After he said, oh, no, Jeffrey Epstein's a really bad guy. I'm not going to be friends with him. Yeah. Seems like they were pretty good friends.
That those drinks actually happened. Then they go to the actual island. And the island email is very interesting because it was actually sent by his wife.
Now, my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
December 21st,
Looks like
2012,
that's not true.
Allison Lutnick sends an email to organize a meeting on Pedo Island. Also claimed no philanthropy efforts with Epstein.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy.
For $2,700 per person,
What a liar.
you get a photo with Hillary. And Lutnick
there's a very simple way we could handle these people. You know what I mean? There really is, but we just can't do those things
Nick went ahead and
yet.
invited Epstein to this fundraiser in 2015. Again in 2017, another dinner. And what does Epstein do? Let's give him $50K for it. It's for Howard. And the sister of Howard Lutnick, Edie Lutnick, was one of the founding citizens of Terramar. Terramar being a philanthropy, quote-unquote, project that was run by Ghislaine Maxwell. Fergie, seen here with Ghislaine Maxwell, is the ex-wife of Prince Andrew. She owed Epstein money. She had emails saying, "My love and gratitude for you. You're the brother I always wished for." Now, Howard knew Fergie, and to my understanding, they're still close because Fergie still follows Howard on Instagram. And Howard, only following 146 people, also follows Sarah. They're mutuals. Sarah frequented the World Trade Center, with floors 101 to 105 being where Cantor Fitzgerald was housed. And Miss Fergie here was supposed to be in World Trade Center 1 on the morning of September 11, 2001 at the 101st
And there you
floor,
have it.
but happened to not make it due to traffic. Here's another email with Epstein discussing Cantor Fitzgerald and Mr. T, whoever that is. Was able to find the term sheet they're referencing in that email. Again, Mr. T. And after stating he had no contact with him after this one meeting, not only did he go to the island, they were also talking as late as 2018. In an email subjected Frick, Howard Lutnick says to Jeffrey Epstein, "Are you aware as to them building to block our park views? What should we do about it?" Even though the 2 is redacted, we're able to find the other email, and in his very long-handed communication style says, "No, I was not." And then we found the article for the Frick property they were discussing that was going to potentially block their view.
Yeah. That's my story. A one and absolutely done.
Howard Lutnick
One and absolutely done. Yeah, what a liar.
has historically used his powerful positions for financial gain, and by any standard, he is a liar. And one of the many liars that dwell within this den of corruption that we are slowly mapping out throughout the United States.
Over a 14-year period, I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person. Okay?
I say perjury. I say these people should be held accountable for that. I say that these people shouldn't just be let off to be scot-free. I think there should be some level of accountability. Honest to God. Honest to God. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. If you're looking to grow your business, work with me. Shoot me a DM. I'll help you grow. We actually do that rather easily. We help entrepreneurs with growing their businesses through lead generation, SEO, promo, and deal flow. Okay, so with Gold Shark Media, we build an AI lead generation follow-up system because most businesses are struggling with leads not being contacted fast enough, missed calls and forms, inconsistent follow-up, CRMs with no actual use, calendars that don't convert. And again, it's also costly, right? It's also costly to run your own CRM. Okay, so work with Gold Shark Media. And we also have our own CRM. We have our own software that we help entrepreneurs use. Again, $97 a month, or you can pay $997 a month, but you'll get like the full perks, right? You'll get everything in Pro Plus, plus unlimited contacts, unlimited lead capacity, custom dashboards, ROI, booked jobs, team KPIs, revenue pipelines, multi-location plus multi-user support, advanced marketing automation, branded client and team portals, dedicated account manager, conversational AI employees, support agents, and sales assistants. Again, all AI. We build the knowledge bases. We build everything inside of this so you basically have your own AI employees. You never have to hire anybody again. And that's the beauty of Gold Shark Media AI. Okay, so it's important as an entrepreneur that you're able to do these things. Okay, so they're also conversational, and again, they integrate well with WhatsApp. They also integrate well with Claude. Pretty much anything that has an API, right? iMessage, and it's also secure. We have secure. We're cyber secure, and we're known for it. Okay, so we have lots of happy clients. And again, FAQ here if you have any questions. But visit goldsharkmedia.com and let's help grow your business, right? Let's help get you to the next level. We also have some merch. We actually just dropped the prices on everything, so be sure to pop in there, get a mug, get a t-shirt, get a long sleeve shirt, get a snapback. It's in style, right? It's in style. Wear something cool and represent yourself in a better way, okay? And then also, you can work with Brendan Ecker Realty, where I am a real estate agent in Michigan. You need to get your first property. You want to work with me? Work with me. Book a private consultation. Very simple. It'll take you to my Calendly link. Okay, it'll tell you everything that we're going to talk about, right? Your real estate goals and qualifications, the buying and selling process from start to finish, key contracts and paperwork you got to know about. Any questions that you have about the market, we'll talk about that. And then we'll also talk about your goals, financial details, timeline, property details, questions you'd like answered. And, just bring a notebook to jot down any actions or resources, anything like that you need. Okay, so give me a call and we'll help you grow your business in real estate, and we'll help you find the best deal. I work with investors, I work with buyers, sellers, and then if you're trying to become a real estate agent, you're trying to make more money in your business, trying to increase your earning capital, then visit passreusa.com, our online course for future real estate agents, where we help you grow with, again, 1,300 practice questions for future real estate agents. It's relevant for all 50 states. It covers the federal real estate laws. And guess what? Most of those federal real estate laws are what you'll see on your real estate exam. So you're going to cover, you're going to get the concept. You're going to understand real estate by the end of this entire course. Again,
welcome to Pass for USA, your national real estate pre-licensing and state exam prep course. I'm Nova, your instructor, and I'll be guiding you step by step toward passing your real estate licensing exam on the very
And again, I created this entire thing, okay, because I know how hard the real estate test was. I know it's not easy, so I created this entire thing myself for real estate agents and future
You've
realtors.
just completed our 20 free practice questions. You've already experienced the style,
20
difficulty,
free.
and
It also had 20 free practice questions as well, guys. So you want to be a real estate agent? Pop in to passreusa.com and see what you like, see what you think about it, and become a real estate agent. Increase your income, increase your earning capital. That's what it's all about. Okay, so I wanted to break into all of the news that's happening here on X. Now that we've kind of covered the bigger stories, I wanted to really cover the meat and potatoes, right? What's brand new in the algorithm? So 45 minutes ago, Elon Musk's XAI and the U.S. Department of Defense have reached a deal to integrate Grok into classified systems. So what does that actually mean? Okay, so according to Grok here, the Post announces a deal between XAI and the U.S. Department of Defense to integrate Grok AI into classified systems, aligning with January 2026 Pentagon announcements under Secretary Pete Hegseth for rapid AI adoption across military networks. This builds on prior contracts, including a July 2025 $800 million Department of Defense AI modernization push and a September 2025 $200 million agreement criticized by Senator Elizabeth Warren over Grok's past anti-Semitic outputs. Okay, come on. Anti-Semitic outputs. We are all looking for a more free AI, highlighting ongoing ethical debates in military AI deployment. Integration could enhance decision-making speed per DoD's AI acceleration strategy, but peer-reviewed studies like those from RAND, the RAND Corporation, if you guys didn't know, warn of risks including algorithmic biases over reliance, with early tests showing AI hallucinations in 15 to 20% of high-stakes simulations. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think XAI is going to become corrupt? Do you think it's going to become, or do you think it's going to still remain the most free platform? And then Iran Military Daily, and although this account does appear to be located in Southeast Asia, so be careful with this account, but they've been posting several different pieces of content, and this is just one of them. They posted this 19 hours ago. Chinese president serves China. Russian president serves Russia. Iranian president serves Iran. American president serves Israel. Ooh, that hurts. And it's true, though. It's true. So, I mean, honest to God, and then this is what's happening in the UK. So Tucker Carlson's been covering this issue. Thank God somebody
In a
is.
single generation, Europe has changed forever, more than it has in the last 2,000 years.
Whoa, easy. Whoa.
This is the result of decades of mass migration. And that migration has destroyed social unity. It's reshaped the cultures of Europe completely. It's transformed once beautiful cities into slums.
Como no me dejen entrar en Estados Unidos por tu culpa, te corto el cuello.
In many cities, natives are now the minority.
Wow.
This was not an accident. It didn't happen.
Yeah, this is happening all over the United Kingdom. This is happening all over Europe. It's happening everywhere in Europe. This is the Great Replacement. This is the Kalergi Plan.
Organically, you're not imagining it.
But the police do that because they are working with the criminals, the one who smuggle people.
The governments of Western Europe and the United States,
I never did that
and
as a
Canada,
cop,
New
but
Zealand,
I
and
think
Australia
in these places
did this
it might be
on
happening.
purpose to their own people. They opened their border and they paid for the rest of the world, the third world, to move into their countries.
Whatever happens, happens, I suppose.
How exactly did they do that? Our cameras found out. We followed one of the deadliest trade routes on Earth, from Africa to the Canary Islands to Spain, France, ending in the UK.
This is what happens when you let a bunch of foreigners completely overtake your country.
Along the way, we uncovered the entire
I'm right.
system.
It's so true. We cannot allow this anymore. There has to be mass remigration back to their own countries where they came from. That is just national security, counterterrorism 101.
Criminal networks, NGOs, and criminal governments coordinating together to destroy the West.
Everybody that arrives here, the mafia gets between 50 to 60,000 euros.
All played a role in this massive human trafficking scheme, moving people across borders to reshape the West.
Los personas aquí tienen trabajos.
Yeah, these people don't even love America. They have no patriotism. They don't come here because they want to live here and enjoy our rights. They want to. Many of these are Muslims. Many of these Africans don't even have a religion. Many of them they really can't even drive. I mean, again, this isn't about racism. This is about counterterrorism. This is about national security. Okay, we can see what's happening in Ireland. We can see what's happening in Scotland. We can see what's happening in the UK. We can see what's happening in Germany. We can see what's happening in Sweden and Norway today. Okay, think about these places and how beautiful and how safe they used to be and how no longer they are. Just not anymore. And because of mass migration.
Europeans are being replaced racially, spiritually, culturally in their own homeland, and so are we.
We inform them what to do and not to do, so they don't catch them there and they bring them back to Spain.
The only question is, will Europe awaken before it has disappeared?
Do you think we could get killed?
If not killed, at least you will get beat up.
Insane.
Replacing Europe only on Tucker Carlson.
Everybody chat that on the Tucker Carlson network, and I think that's going to be a pretty good hit. Again, breaking: Republicans are demanding Howard Lutnick be fired. Yeah, he should be fired. Again, that's why it was our featured story today. Again, look at this story. I wanted to read this. This is from yesterday. It was posted at 3:23 a.m. Okay, the financial firm once run by Trump's Commerce Secretary has been forced to clarify that it did not seek to profit from the tariff rollbacks announced on Friday, after the Supreme Court decided in a 6-3 judgment that President Trump did not have the right to impose his global tariff policy. Financial services from the Cantor Fitzgerald denied claims that it was attempting to cash in on the decision. Speaking with Semaphore, a spokesman said that the company has never executed any transactions or taken risk on the legality of tariffs. Any report suggesting otherwise is completely false, he noted. The claims stem from reporting in Wired and elsewhere that Cantor was offering to buy rights to businesses' tariff refunds, essentially betting that Trump's economic ploy would be overturned, as it was on Friday. This is completely fraud. This is fraud. He should be in prison for something like this. We've already put a trade through representing about $10 million of IEEPA rights and anticipate that the number will balloon in the coming weeks, a Cantor representative told Wired in July 2025. However, the spokesperson stated recently that the sales rep erroneously believed that the financial product was something that the company would soon offer and was simply trying to drum up interest from buyers. The fact that Cantor didn't offer the product suggests that it is keenly sensitive to the optics of Lutnick's role. Semaphore's business and finance editor Liz Hoffman wrote, Lutnick ran the investment bank for 30 years before he was appointed to his current position in the Trump administration. He transferred his own ownership to his sons, Brandon and Kyle, in May of last year. Though he has previously claimed to be completely independent of the financial services institution and not privy to their products and services, he also is facing scrutiny over potential conflicts of interest. While running Trump's transitional operations, whistleblowers within the MAGA team claimed that Lutnick was attempting to staff the ranks and aid his advisors with those who would personally benefit him. A specific allegation at the time was made that Lutnick took meetings to Capitol Hill in the capacity as transition co-heir and then used those meetings to discuss issues that Cantor Fitzgerald might profit from them. This onus is on him not to use the power in an abusive manner, and that has not been the case, a senior Republican official told Politico at this time. Lutnick, 63 years old, has been a longtime personal friend of Donald Trump and one of his closest ties to Wall Street. He personally celebrated the tariffs imposed by his boss, claiming that they would rake in hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars and eventually eliminate the need for most people to pay tax. On Friday, Lutnick stood beside Trump as he threw a major tantrum over not getting his way with his key economic policy, describing the Supreme Court justices as fools and lapdogs, suggesting that they had been bought by foreign interests, which is obviously Howard Lutnick. Gaslighting, of course. While Trump's original tariff strategy was deemed illegal, the president stressed he would find other ways to implement his economic plan. He has since declared a 15% tariff on a global trade with all nations. Lutnick recently made headlines after it was revealed that he has visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island in 2012, as we discussed earlier, as we watched the video for earlier. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about everything that's happening? What do you guys think about everything that's happening in the markets? Again, we have crypto that essentially not doing so hot. PolyMarket pretty much changed their entire prediction on the likelihood of all these things to come about. Again, the Clarity Act for crypto, that percentage and likelihood went down again. Okay, the U.S. strike by Iran, looking like a lot of people are believing that we might actually be seeing a strike, somewhere around March 31st. Okay, so what do you guys think? Again, ultimately, this is the predictions for PolyMarket. These are some of the big ones. And again, a lot of people think that we're going to be at war with Iran. A lot of people that the Fed's decision in March will, it's going to be a 95.8% no change for the interest rates in March because, that's already on the CME. You can check that. And then if we're looking at gold prices right now, gold is up. We'll just update this page. Gold is up at $5,245. Silver's at $88. Platinum is at $21.69, and palladium is at $1,773. So be sure to invest in your precious metals. And then again, for future, this is just your basic stock market. Stock market's down. Dow Jones is not looking so good. Pam Bondi, you don't really have much to brag about there, do you? Okay, and then as terms of futures, the futures market was pretty much down today. All of those things are down. But yeah, honest to God, if you ask me, I think, who knows? What do you guys think is coming for the future of cryptocurrency? Do you think we will be involved in a war with Iran? I think we will be. I think Trump will go to war with Iran, or maybe he will just play the 5D chess and at last minute, maybe we'll just pull out. Maybe we will allow Iran to do their thing with Israel, whatever they plan on doing, right? Maybe that's the overall plan. Maybe Trump doesn't plan on getting involved. But given the fact that we do have carrier strike groups out there, given the fact that Trump's rhetoric appears to be, we want to denuclearize Iran completely. And so this doesn't really leave Iran any practical reason to back down. Why would they want to denuclearize, obviously? Why would they want to do that to their country, right? That leaves them completely defenseless from Israel. And that's good for Israel, right? So if Israel is able to basically topple Iran because they are denuclearized, have no way of defending themselves, then guess who controls the entire Middle East? Then that would be Israel. But that only happens with the help of the United States and our tax dollars and all of the money that goes into our tax dollars. So a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people think that this entire war with Iran, it is just, something that, oh yeah, we got to do it. The dangerous Islams, the dangerous Sharia law. It's like, yes, those things are dangerous. And they do seek to topple Christianity, and we see it happening in Europe. It does need to be thwarted. At the same time, we can't be involved in a 20-year war with Iran on Israel's behalf when we have no reciprocation. There's no benefit to the American people. None. Absolutely none. So my take on it, we need to not go to war with Iran. If I were Trump needs to understand. If I was an advisor to Trump, I would tell him this does not benefit the United States. Like the only thing we get rid of is maybe some Taliban fighters. Honest to God, that at the end of the day, that's what it would be. Maybe some ISIS. And guess what? ISIS is Mossad. We already know that. We already know that ISIS, a lot of ISIS people and agents who are captured, prisoners of war, POWs, they'll typically be found out to be Mossad agents. Okay, and guess what is Mossad? That's Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, and that's what it always was. So a lot of people don't know that fact. Okay, so that's really what's happening right now. Okay, and that's the overall chessboard. And so what I think, we need to not go to war with Iran. And in terms of El Mencho, I think that was I think we're seeing regime changes everywhere. Venezuela, we're seeing regime changes in places like Puerto Vallarta, of course, because again, we want oil. You need to pay attention to the oil executives. You need to be paying attention to, the land like Greenland, the Western Hemisphere dominance, the Monroe Doctrine. Those ideas are kind of what's swirling in Trump's head. So before you can understand what's really happening on the geopolitical map, you need to be able to understand what's really going on in regards to what's in the president's mind. And then also, what is in the mind of those people around him? The Howard Lutnicks, the Jeffrey Epsteins, right? The Lindsey Grahams. They want to go to war with Iran. They insist on it. And they're proud of it. They believe that they're doing God's work, even though they don't really believe in God, to my opinion. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this is going to turn into an all-out 20-year war with Iran, just like Afghanistan, just like Iraq? Or is this going to be something that maybe we actually end up controlling? Maybe we don't end up in a war with Iraq. Maybe we actually get the American Golden Age. What do you guys think will happen with crypto and the Clarity Act? What do you guys think will happen with Puerto Vallarta? Do you think America will become involved in that? Do you think we will actually send troops out there? I think we actually will. There will come a point where we will probably do that. So ultimately, thanks for watching the show. I have nothing else to say. We'll see what happens tonight. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. For the audience who's listening, again, be sure to visit goldsharkmedia.com. Work with me if you're looking to invest in Michigan real estate. Okay, you want a nice pad like this? You want a nice office, a nice studio like this? Then work with me. Okay, so thank you. See you next time. Stay prudent, stay powerful, and stay wealthy. And be sure to stay informed. And we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. And also be sure to check out my original channel, Brendan Ecker, on YouTube, which is where we cover daily business, news, AI, and the basic markets. We cover that every single morning at 11 a.m. Come back here at Ecker Geopolitics YouTube channel every night, 7 p.m.